All right, folks, I have 7 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and call to order this October 10, 2023 meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Town of White Lake. Just to let you know, Sean will not be with us tonight. He is out of town, we're continuing to be in prayer for Sean. His mother-in-law passed away very unexpectedly recently, and he's been dealing with that family situation. So I hope you will keep him in your thoughts and prayers and his family. At this time, I'll call the meeting to order and ask you to bow your heads to the invocation. Dear Lord, I wish to thank you for giving us the opportunity to be able to gather here this evening to discuss the business of our town. We ask that you guide and direct us as we attempt to do your will and do those things that are in the best interest of the citizens of this town. These things we ask in Christ's name. Amen. Amen. The first item is the Pledge of Allegiance. I will ask Commissioner Evans to lead us in the pledge because he hadn't done that in a while, and today's his birthday. So he can lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And it actually is his birthday, so happy birthday, Pop.
Yeah, sing happy birthday after me.
That'll be our gift to you as we don't sing happy birthday.
I appreciate that.
All right. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the consent agenda items, which is our agenda adoption, approval of the minutes of September 12, 2023 regular meeting and July 11, 2023 closed session minutes, our September utility releases, September tax releases, and also the September tax refunds. Any questions of staff in regard to any of those items?
The only thing I got, Mr. Mayor, maybe they forgot to leave it out. I mentioned a lot of times we have matters of interest by board members, and this hadn't been on the agenda. So in the future, that used to be a line item, but maybe we'll pick it up in number 4.
I think we used to have it under other commissioners' business. Yeah. All right. Any questions on these items that we just covered? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented in item 1.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Not, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. The next item is the White Lake Water Management Project update. The report of Dr. Diane Larson is contained as agenda item 2A1. As always, we have published that on the whitelakewatch.com website as we do each time that that's presented. I'm not going to go through everything in it, but did want to point out that that we did have Tropical Storm Ophelia come through. Didn't add much to our lake level. We only got about a measurable inch, and we got lake level remaining consistent through September, ranging from about 64.1 to 64 feet in AVD 88, which is slightly above the September 2022 and 2021 levels. Had a substantial change in water temperatures, dropped about 11 degrees, and that generally helps with our clarity some. And you can go through all the, we've got the monthly rainfall, we've got the comparative graph on lake levels. There's some information in there about the weekly bass tournaments that are taking place. And there's the charts on our lake clarity showing the Secchi depth on turbidity, chlorophyll A, and pH levels, and all that's in there for your review. And again, on whitelakewatch.com.
Mr. Mayor, on the water, I saw where it was $45 million awarded. Of course, Bladen County didn't get anything. I saw where Womble River got money and some other lakes, ponds. I don't know if it's our state legislators or if somebody we can talk with, because, you know, we could, all the help we want to get. This was an article in the Bladen Online. It's pretty in depth, and it gave all the different counties and the money they were awarded. So I don't know if Diane is aware of this or whoever we can talk to, or whether our state legislators, but there's money out there, and it's like we're missing none of it, not getting any of it. So,
well, then you might want to talk to Sean when he gets back in. Sean and I both have been making contacts on it to see, you know, what funds we might get. So you might want to speak to him to get up.
I called when he was out this week, so
yeah.
But I did see that, and I thought, well,
yeah,
let's get our
get that to him, and he can bring you up to date on the contacts we can make.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir. Next item is the White Lake Stormwater Master Plan update, and that is presented again for your review. And we are continuing to work on our Stormwater Master Plan so that we can seek funding for doing our stormwater management. Also in item number 3 is our AIA project update. That's our asset inventory assessment. And that is also presented for your review. There's a letter in there from Withers Ravenel giving the current updates on the AIA project as we continue to work in regard to that. And there's no action to be taken in regard to those. Our next 3 items that we have, item B, C, and D under 2, are all basically the same contracts with different engineering firms. Basically what numerous towns have gone to in the last couple of years is seeking out a request for proposals on a professional engineering and related services master agreement, so that we have agreements in place with different engineering firms that we are able to call upon, and we already have laid out their basically that they have their insurance, what kind of fees they'll be charging. And to let you know, this doesn't cost us anything to do this, but it puts it in place where we can move quickly. And also, just for you to keep in mind, we have limits under the general statutes where if you exceed those limits, of course, you have to go out to bid, and you have to bid the engineering services part of it also. And so this is basically for matters which are under that limit. And if we have, for example, we're seeking monies on stormwater, if we get some monies in regard to that, and have to be in a position with the state to move forward, like on some of the funds you're talking about there, we would have something in place that we could move forward with it without having to take the time to secure somebody's services. So the one in item B is with engineering services, PA, who does most of our water and wastewater work. We have in item C a master agreement with Withers Ravenel, and the gentleman from Withers Ravenel is here tonight on our streetscape plan. And also we have one with McGill Associates. It's in item D. Any questions in regard to any of those agreements?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to confirm what you're talking about is correct. Sean and I had a good meeting with Brian Strong as well as Trent Allen. They had pointed us in the direction of some money. We had a follow-up call with Brian this week, town board. And we're trying to get some matters with control of DWQ, DWR, as well as NC Parks, and hope to have a meeting scheduled as soon as February, where everybody collectively will be here.
And he had gone over that with me, and we've been making some additional contacts also, so I appreciate you bringing that up. Sean was going to give us an update on that had he been here tonight, but was unable to be here. So at a future meeting, we will be bringing that up, that we are pursuing that. And again, want to thank you in particular for accompanying him on that last trip up there and helping make those contacts. And we do continue to do that, try to work with those folks, and we'll continue on that. All right. Again, any questions on items B, C, or D as far as the master agreements for professional engineering services? If not, I would entertain a motion, and I think I can present this as one, that we approve that the engineering and related services masters agreement, one in item B with engineering services PA, in item C with Withers Ravenel Incorporated, and one in item D with McGill Associates PA. And I would entertain such a motion.
Motion to approve each as presented.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Item E is a memorandum of understanding between, there's an acronym referred to as CORE, is Creating Outdoor Recreation Economies Project, and the town of White Lake. And we are working with Bladen County on this and the North Carolina Department of Commerce to take part in trying to help create additional outdoor recreation economies for our county and specifically for White Lake. And as we seek to follow up with that, we have been approved as a participant in the CORE project. This agreement that is contained as item 2E, I'm sorry, is just a working agreement between us and the county. This is not something that costs the town any money. It's just a working agreement. We are to receive some funds from the state. We haven't gotten the specific amount on that. And again, Sean should have hopefully by the next meeting an update in regard to that. We've been told that we are an approved participant in the program, and we are waiting to see what will be available to us in regard to that. But we're working with the county on it to see what we can do. And so hopefully some good things will come from that. At this time, unless there are any questions on it, I would entertain a motion to approve in item 2E, the memorandum of understanding creating the outdoor recreation economy project, again referred to as CORE, with the town of White Lake and with the county of Blake.
So maybe.
Motion second. Any discussion? Not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Next is item F, which is an agreement for training and uniform reimbursement for police officer. I'm sure all of you are aware at the great difficulty that not only we in the town of White Lake, but other towns, both in North Carolina and across our nation, are having in the current environment with securing police officers. It's been a very difficult task, and we're having to do what we can to actively pursue folks for that. And my congratulations to Mike and Bruce for continuing to work in innovative ways to help the town out in being able to go after some much needed help. You'll see in item 2F is agreement for training and uniform reimbursement for police officer. Basically, what we're doing is we identify someone who is in basic law enforcement training, and after identifying that person in there, we bring them in with this contract for the town of White Lake. They are not, they haven't finished basic law enforcement training, but they are participating in that now. And that we provide them with a uniform, we provide them with some training. They don't have arrest authority or any of that until they actually graduate and get their degree, and then can go out and do the necessary things we need done. And basically on the part of the trainee, what they are saying, of course, while they're working here with us, they will be provided a uniform, and we have other expenses that are incurred in their behalf. And if we do this and bring the person in, and obviously that helps them with continuing their education as we're doing this, and they are responsible for coming back and paying whatever actual cost we've had to expend on them if they don't follow through with the job. And they will provide them with full-time training for a period of up to 36 weeks, and they get paid a trainee wage and benefits, and again agree to pay those back if they don't come on board with us. A lot of departments are doing this. The chief was telling me earlier, I think in one law enforcement training class, that either Wilmington or Robinson County had already signed up contracts with like 13 to 14 people who were in the class. And it's just it's something we're having to do because it's very difficult to bring the folks in. As you know, we added an additional position on the police force, and filling those positions is difficult. So and I would recommend to you that this is a very good way to pursue that and to do this. Any questions for the chief or Mike in regard to this?
I would say there's I don't know if you've worked with NC for me any at all, or if they're a military transition group working out of Fort Liberty or Bragg that handle military transition and spouses. I'd like to talk to you about that. It might be a good opportunity for us to find people who want to stay in this area and transition into work.
Unless there are any other questions, I would entertain a motion that we approve the agreement for training and uniform reimbursement for police officer as presented in item 2F. Motion second.
Second.
Any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye. Any opposed, like sign. Item 3A is the Town of White Lake Streetscape Master Plan presentation. Brian Starkey with Withers Ravenel is here, and he's going to present the proposed Streetscape Master Plan, and we'll be asking on the agenda tonight to approve that as presented. As he'll explain to you, until we get a master plan approved, we can't proceed with getting any funding, and so that's what we're waiting on. In a nutshell, that about right? Okay, all right. I'll turn it over to you, Brian, unless you address us on this.
I need this small. My voice is pretty bad. You can't let me know. Good evening, Mayor, members of the commission. I'm pleased to be here with you this evening, and I am Brian Starkey. I'm Director of Parks and Recreation for Withers Ravenel. Begin just by thanking you for the opportunity to work on this project. As I've heard tonight, I knew a little bit about it, but I want to thank you for the other opportunities provided with Withers Ravenel. The work of the Town of White Lake, you're a valued client and owner for us, and we're just pleased to be involved with everything. So thank you for that opportunity. We have really enjoyed working on this project, working with staff, working with stakeholders and the community. We were here for Waterfest. I have to say we had a pretty big time at Waterfest. We enjoyed that. That was a great event for us to engage with the community and talk to residents about what they'd like to see as part of the project. So this is a master plan. As Mayor Womble said, this is the first step. It's a broad view. It's no review. There's a lot of detail to get to make this happen and make it a reality, and likely happen in phases. But as the mayor said, most ranking agencies that you might approach that if you're asking for funds, they're going to say, just like we would walk into a bank and say, you know, I want to start a business. They've actually bring your business plan. And the master plan really is that business plan. It's a starting point to let them know your intent, what benefits the project is bringing to the community. So we had a few just general project objectives up there on the screen, and the first three really speak to pedestrian safety and connection, separating people from cars, connecting people from where they stay to the destinations that they want to go to eat, to shop, to recreate, and so on. And then connecting neighborhoods and continuing the idea of a multi-use path or greenway all the way around the lake. In addition to that, obviously, is recreational opportunity. But two other goals that we think are important to this project are to create an identity and character for White Lake, a sense of entry along the corridor, and a definite identity and character. And then lastly, and I think really important for this project and some of the other work we're doing with you, is opportunities for treating stormwater. Many of the recommendations that I'll show you tonight can accommodate stormwater, whether that's in the medians along the side of the road, or opportunities to help with stormwater treatment and so on. Very good. You think we rehearsed that? I look over to nod and we're done. So we begin our process with an inventory and analysis. This is the first step, and really what that means is it's our opportunity to get to know White Lake and to understand White Lake Drive and the corridor and all the factors that influence what can be done, or what the limitations, what the constraints are, and the opportunities. So we start with a site inventory to identify those opportunities and constraints. Now, the corridor that we're looking at is basically from the Gorilla Store all the way down to Highway 53. It's about 1.5 miles, just shy of 1.5 miles from those points. So in terms of the inventory and analysis, several exhibits that we've developed and are part of the report identify the opportunities and constraints to accomplish the goals of the projects. And you know, some of these are probably not a surprise to you. Some of the constraints include improvements being limited where businesses parking lots abut White Lake Drive. That prevents a little bit of a challenge. Existing freestanding walls and fences make expansion a challenge, and in some cases costly. Homes and businesses are close to White Lake Drive, so we need to be sensitive to that. In some areas, we're very close to the drive. It's important for us to respect those property owners, be sensitive to that. And then one part of this, and you'll see it later in the presentation, is really has to do with utilities. And that's part of the detail that will come later, but utilities can be close to the road and they're costly to relocate if required. Some of the opportunities that we see along the corridor are wide shoulders that offer space for expansion and improvement. The road width allows for possible planted medians and planted shoulders, and all proposed planted areas can be used to treat stormwater. One of the first things we did was really look at and document existing conditions and sections at strategic points that represent a variety of conditions along the corridor. So at strategic points like in Goldston, Clearwater, at William, at Town Hall, and so on, we took note of what was there now. What's the width of the pavement? Where's the curb and gutter? Where's the sidewalk? In some cases, where's the fence? Where's the walls and so on? So again, part of us getting to know the corridor and documenting those things that will influence design. Some of the opportunities that we really focused on include, again, the separation of the multi-use path and White Lake Drive to include pedestrian safety. The opportunity for medians at strategic locations, landscape enhancements, lighting, stormwater, and other amenities such as benches and trash cans, things of that nature. So we documented those again at those various points along the border that seemed critical and that were different. There's a lot of variety of conditions along the corridor, so we tried to respond to those as best we could. So community engagement, always an important part of the project and part of our process. We want to listen to the community. This is your all's community. This is their community. So we really wanted to understand what the hopes and needs and aspirations of the community were. And again, being at the Waterfest was a great opportunity to do that. We had to chuckle. Thank you for locating us right next to the wrestling ring. That was quite entertaining. But community input is critical to the success of the project. And respondents indicated their desires. Community perspective was pretty clear. And we did have, I was asked earlier, 130. So in addition to being at Waterfest, with the survey to understand what their needs, and I reviewed 30 folks with that survey, which were the size of a town like White Lake is pretty darn good, pretty good representation. So some of the things that we heard from the community was that the multi-use path was a priority. They did not support extensive medians throughout the corridor. They expressed the desire for trees and other vegetation and also street lighting. The number one concern that we really heard was pedestrian safety. Following that, one of the options for streetscapes improvements, we asked which one do you feel is most beneficial, appropriate to the town, and that was the location of the multi-use path being the influencing factor. And it was pretty split. We asked them whether they thought it was most appropriate on the lake side, or the west side of the corridor, or on the east side. And it was pretty split. Just a slight edge to the multi-use path being located on the non-lake side of the corridor. And then in terms of streetscape features you feel are missing, like to see incorporated lighting was the big idea. So again, good response from the community, really informed our understanding of what the community desired, and I think we responded to this. So in terms of recommendations of the master plan, I'll describe this from north, being the Gorilla Store, all the way down to 53, beginning around the Gorilla Store and Grand Regal. The proposed improvements throughout the corridor include a 10-foot wide multi-use path along the length of the corridor, again about 1.5 miles. Landscape strips that create separation between pedestrians and vehicles, and that enhance the aesthetics of the corridor and provide opportunities for stormwater catchment and treatment. Pedestrian scale lighting, the elimination of wide shoulders and center turn lanes in some areas, and then gateways, special treatment at each end of that corridor that provides for the sense of entry into the town of White Lake. So beginning, again, it says we'll begin at the north end. Here you go, the next one. Beginning up at Grand Regal in the vicinity of the Gorilla Store, the path is located on the west side from Grand Regal across the entire frontage of Goldston. Some of these recommendations I'll mention now, and I already did a couple, but some of them repeat obviously throughout the corridor, and there are some that are special to certain sections. But at this particular section, converting a portion of the turn lane into a gateway median, so up by the Gorilla Store, for that first part of the street, there's an opportunity there to take some of the turn lane and make it into a gateway median. Median provides a gateway into the business corridor, indicating the sense of arrival for the visitor. Removing wide shoulders and relocating existing curb and gutter, shifting lanes to accommodate 10-foot wide multi-use path. Provide landscape strip to separate the vehicles, travel lanes to propose a multi-use path. Landscaping strip provides opportunities for aesthetic enhancements, pedestrian safety, and stormwater catchment and treatment. And then the landscape is recommended to consist of canopy trees to provide shade on the trail, evergreen shrubs in the strip for year-round green, and ornamental grasses and perennials in the median to provide very visible interest. So from there, and across Goldston's, same as the previous stretch, really with one exception, and that is that the center turn lane in front of Goldston's remains. Felt like that was important to control traffic in and out of the adjacent businesses. And to another recommendation here is to work with business owners to potentially relocate fencing or walls to provide the area between the fence and the multi-use. Moving further south from Goldston's, just past Goldston's, the path switches sides to the east, mainly to avoid areas where the road and parking in front of businesses come together. That's important for those business owners to have that parking, convenient parking for their customers. And so in that section just south of Goldston's, the path switches sides and goes to the east. Couple things here, and that is to relocate signs out of the public right of way to increase safety. There was actually a couple of signs that kind of blocked the view coming in side streets. This applies to the whole corridor, but to install collapsible bollards and driveway connections to keep vehicles and golf carts off the path. The path is really intended for pedestrians, bicyclists, strollers, and disposable walking. And to install the pedestrian scale lighting along the multi-use path again. Something that reoccurs throughout the corridor as a recommendation. So just before Town Hall, very good Town Hall. Just before Town Hall, the path switches back to the west side. Really, this is to take one of the advantages here is to take advantage of town-owned property, particularly the areas here in front of Town Hall and so on, for additional stormwater and aesthetic enhancements. It's a great opportunity here at Town Hall property to do that, and it's sort of in the center of the corridor as well. So along this stretch, again, the path switches back to the west side and heads down towards Skiburger. Path continues on the west side all the way to Skiburger, and the recommendations of this section are pretty much the same as I've already described. One thing I didn't mention is that there are several places where when we're switching sides, White Lake Drive from the east to the west. Again, having a pedestrian designation, thinking about pedestrian safety and having very identifiable crosswalks to get people from one side to the other in a safe manner. And then just past Skiburger, along property of Camp Clearwater, the path jumps back to the east side. I think goes all the way to 53 on the east side. A couple of things particular to this corridor are the existing sidewalk and associated curb and gutter on the Clearwater side, on the west side, remain. On the east side, it looks that there would require some amount of right-of-way dedication on the east side of the road when that property develops to accommodate proposed enhancements. And then at the very end, as we get to 53, again, it's sort of median in the road to create that sense of entry immediately. So we did look at cost. This is a high level budgetary cost that might have a little sticker shock. We put the numbers together. We were a little bit surprised too, but we did have with our estimate of construction costs, and we put in a lot of cushion because there are quite honestly a lot of them. Some of those that could result in expenses that include utility relocation, stormwater design, lighting's never cheap, and then just the full extent of improvements. But we were carrying a 25% contingency. I had money in there for design and permitting inspections, construction, in addition to the improvements. So if you look at that 6.1 number, those last four items, contingency construction, goal to P, which is out there in profit, design and permitting inspections, that totals about 2.3. So really, I mean, generally speaking, I would say you're really looking at a $3 to $4 million project to go that whole mile and a half. We really slow it down to 53. those are our recommendations. We ask for your approval of the report tonight, and again, it sort of sets the stage for you all to be able to be in a position to pursue funding, and gives a good benchmark to begin the move the project forward. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Brian, as I understand it too, there's flexibility in this. This is not a take it or leave it type thing. This is a master plan that we have so that we can use that to pursue funding, and can easily be changed or adjusted depending upon what funds we can get and how we want to spend those.
Yes, yes, sir. It's master plan doesn't have certain inherent flexibility. There's always opportunity to change. But what I think the special plan does to the position we all to pursue funding is very clearly outlines a project that would be a great benefit. Certainly changes can happen. And not just tweaks, significant changes could happen to the plan as we move forward, as we discover more, because we know exactly where utilities are.
Any of the board members have questions?
Just one that people brought to my attention, going from the gorilla store, reckon north. If there could be, I see we got the sidewalk out on the campground on one side, we got existing and having one there. They were talking about the walking from that end, from Scotsman back towards the gorilla store, north and south. If any of that land could be utilized for a sidewalk. That's, yeah, I knew this was all going this way, but I've had some folks say that with the traffic and the speeding and bicycles.
Yeah, theoretically, I think what's called that phase 2, going from little store up to Scotch. And I would say, and you would study the corridor hard there, but I would say that there are a lot more flexibility from that point to Scotch, because a lot of the homes are set back, lots of bigger, and just further away from the border of the road itself.
That's the only thing I've heard from people was talking about either the trail or doing something there.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking to Sean lately about his vision, I think your all's as well, is to have that multi-use path. You got it on 53, you're looking at, well, phase 2 of that, which goes up to 701 and starts to head towards the Scotch, closing that gap between this project for the Scotch. That would do it, connect everything up, be a great asset for you. Good question.
I did. First of all, thank you. Appreciate it. I like the plan. I think it's phenomenal, and I agree. Our multi-use path, we've got to continue to get it all the way around. A question came up in a meeting I was at in Raleigh, and I don't know if there's any truth to it, but since you're the engineer, sometimes with these multi-use projects, if DOT is changing something on a 701 corridor or modification, it's easier to plug in, hey, we'd like you to help us with this multi-use path. And the reason I say that is because I've had people tell me, hey, we really need to try to do a roundabout. We need to do something different at 701 where you're crossing over in front of the Scotchman. And I brought that up in a meeting, and one of the DOT engineers kind of chuckled. And when we left me, he said, you know, if you could get a roundabout there, you could probably get a lot of additional funds tied into finishing some of the multi-use projects and things that the town's wanting to do, especially on that 701 corridor. So have you seen that? Is that truthfully the case? And you get more support from part of and some of those funding sources like that as well when those projects take place?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, you all said it before, somebody mission said it before, there's a lot of money out there these days. So there are probably a half a dozen ranking agencies, both state and federal, that I could identify that we would support a project like this. To your point about, this DOT is going to do something 701, if they decide to make some growth somewhere. Piggybacking on a project like that, anything from a roundabout to, if the community wanted to connect from one side of the highway to the other, pedestrian pedestrian bridges, things of that nature. When there's a project going on, it's quite common for communities to piggyback on that. Ask me if we do something more. I've seen that in a number of cases, so very possible. And again, there's a lot of granting agencies out there that would support a project like this. It's about, you know, getting outside, quality of life, health, and fitness, and recreation, connecting communities, and alternative modes of transportation, all kinds of categories that you can justify an argument. As I mentioned, part of our goal is connecting communities to places that they need to go. Might not be so much here in White Lake, but you know, we're on a project that we received a grant to do some pedestrian improvements and path improvements to connect lower income neighborhoods to the food sources. We just don't have to get on that. It's called food deserts. This is all kinds of opportunities out there to justify and support a project like this.
And then one other thing, because we have folks in the room, but you know, it always comes up every meeting I'm at. They say, well, you know, we are the heartbeat of our county for the most part. All the tax revenue, the majority of the funds for our county come from White Lake and Smithfield back tax dollars. You know, but when you apply for these grants, it hurts you because they look at core of, well, this is where the tax basis is, but we are the lifeblood to the county. And trying to correlate to that message to ARTF and, you know, all of the groups that are funding groups has been very difficult for our town. We have not had a state representative that's favorable to us in the past, and so hopefully that will change sooner than later. But with that being said, it's become very difficult either to be in a high tax area to get grants because we're just not participating. We've got a small 1,000-person community, but we're overlooked for a lot of grants because of that. Do you have any recommendations of how to overcome that?
Well, yeah, I saw on your agenda, and that's collaboration between the county and White Lake, bringing us close, you know, those different factions together, so that you can present a unique platform. The projects will benefit not only White Lake, but they're going to benefit the county, they're going to benefit the entire region. In terms of that, so I think forming those partnerships is extremely important. Will help us successfully.
So grant proposal needs to come from county and town, or town with clarification from the county the need.
Grant applications can come from partnership, not to say that the county and White Lake could partner, or the town White Lake could partner on a project. I think, you know, talking to Sean a little bit, I mean, I think one of his dreams is to connect. It'd be a great benefit to both communities and to the county as a whole. But you know, anytime you can form those partnerships, there's a strength in it. That's what we're saying.
Thank you.
All right, we thank you for your work that you've done on this. We're got this on tonight to be able to adopt the master plan such as it is, and I don't mean that in any derogatory terms, but in the current status that it's in, and the concept, correct. And then once we do that, then I think these questions tonight were asked are very appropriate because, you know, we want y'all to help us with pursuing some of these funds, because if we can do that and get the funds, we can pay y'all to engineer the project.
That's right.
That's definitely a win for us and a win for y'all. And I mean it in a very sincere way that you know, now that we've got this plan in place, now we can go forward pursuing the funds. As you said earlier, it's like going into bank and saying, I want money from a business, and they say, what's your business plan? Well, you know, it's one of the things we've been working on here for a while, and Sean has been very instrumental in it, in doing this. And now we are starting to put together like these partnerships with the county and getting our master plans done. And hopefully that is going to help us considerably with being able to secure funds that we can get for this area. As Dean said, we've had to fight the battles in a lot of different ways. Probably one of the most surprising to me over the years has been the fact that we've had to, in the last number of years, substantially up our water and sewer rates. We weren't able to get any funding, low interest loans, grants, any of that, because of where our rates stood. And by raising those rates and being able to raise additional money with it, it put us in a different category, and we're able to do that. So we're looking forward to be able to go forward with this now, and assuming we approve this tonight, then Sean will be back in touch with you, and we're going to go to work on seeing where we can find those funds.
Well, let me say again, we value Temple Lake's time. You've given us a lot of work, and we sure appreciate it. I think in doing the stormwater management plan, obviously there's a direct tie to this product. We've talked in the office about how the projects complement each other. Benefits. And one of the reasons I came with the work with you, but was funding an estimate for people that know as much as anybody about grants and where the money are, how to get it, what's important, and making sure that we conduct the processes that we conduct, that we prepare mention so that they're compliant with those grants. We've done that here. So this plan, this position to be successful in any situation. But again, I just want to thank you all for coming to work on this. We really important.
Yeah, and we share the thought too. I mean, obviously we told you up front, it's very important to us to extend the multi-use path, and of course this incorporates components of the multi-use path in what we're doing with this master streetscape. So we're looking to, I suppose, kind of kill two birds with one stone in doing that, which is I think a good way to go about it. So we're going to continue to follow that up. Again, appreciate what you've done up to this point, and look forward to going forward with you on it. At this time, unless there's any other questions by any of the board members, I would like to entertain a motion that we approve the streetscape master plan as presented, so that we can then get down to the business of looking for some funds. Motion second. Any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Again, Brian, thank you very much for being here with us tonight. I expect Sean to be back in touch with you right away, and we look.
All right out there.
Yeah, he is taking a little bit of family time, but he's very enthusiastic about this. He was very regretful that he couldn't be here tonight, because he's been doing a lot of work on this too, and he's ready to see it go forward. So we're going to continue to go along that path, and again look forward to working with you on that. Okay, thank you. At this point, on the departmental briefings and report are contained for you for the town administrator's report, tax collector, post office, police, and fire and public works, and you're welcome to address any questions on that to staff. At this point,
this is where I wanted. I had a couple of things from the commissioners I would like to share with you.
yep.
There's a couple. One was on Tall Pine, and I called, and I'll share it. I went by. It's a house that the roof fell in, the doors open. It's kind of, the neighbors have complained. It's in pretty bad shape. As folks call me about it. I don't know. I don't know if anybody from the town's been there. There's also another home on 701, similar situation. Roofs caved in, rats, and it's not a safety issue. And then on William Street, on the corner, I talked to Sean some while back about the one on 701 and on William Street. You don't know there's a house even there. It's grown up. And I realize there's a procedure in place for condemning these properties, but I'd like the folks to know that we're actively doing it, and I don't know with Sean if he's in on this or not. So I'll need to just
one point worked with COG on it. They had someone in doing that, and that program just never really got off the ground with it. But and I've talked to Sean on some of this, so when he gets back in, we'll see what we do.
Then another matter that brought to my attention is and I hearing it on the street, so I like to hear for myself. I was kind of disturbed that Chamber of Commerce is not doing the water festival, and there's some volunteers that's going to head this up. I didn't know what our participation was with the Lewiston / White Lake Chamber of Commerce, how much money we're giving them, and me as a business owner contributing to the chamber. Do I reallocate my money just to White Lake and forego to the things I do in Lewiston, the Sunset Jams and the other festivals? I would like an update if the climate and with the chamber and the town of White Lake and the money's worth. I'm hearing things that, that I'd like to know a little bit more about it than hearing it from the streets. If they're not doing it and our liability to us doing it, and do we even need to do it? I'll probably make as much money without a festival. I think folks in Lewiston and the merchants, you ask Mike Suggs here, and this board, some of the best business people I know in the county, he sees the value of having it and the impact it would make on those merchants. So I just like to get an update, and I think the board needs an update. I don't know if the chamber needs to come explain it to us. I did call, hadn't heard a response. Early voting, we're not doing early voting on this election. An absentee.
No, you and the rest of the folks voted that it was going to be so expensive for the town of White Lake. We had it on the agenda a while back.
We had it on the last election, and we agreed not to ever do that again. Now, it hasn't been brought on this election. Yeah, so the folks, what month was that put in the town?
I'm sure what month it was, but we discussed it because in the past, that gets spread out among the various communities, and it depends on how many participate, and it got down to the point where no one was participating other than the town of Elizabethtown and White Lake, and it was going to cost thousands of dollars for us to participate in that. And so we decided that we would not participate in that. I don't know it specifically.
It has not been on the agenda in the last few months on this. Like, I'm not running. So that's fine with me. But we had this before when we found out you couldn't do absentee voting. I like to have that decision. I think it cost us like $3,000 the time we didn't do it. So in the future, I like to be on the agenda, and I make that decision, but whether we have it or we don't have it. But you folks are running, and your family members out of town in college, they can't absentee, they got to get here. So I like to be brought in. Okay, and that's pretty much what I've got, and I appreciate y'all giving me this time to ask. But I would like to have a follow-up on the chamber and the condemning of these homes.
I can give you a little brief information on it, and we will have Sean follow up. He's been present at the Chamber of Commerce meetings. There hasn't anything in particular been done at this point, but it's just all in the discussion stage at this time, from what I have seen. And the question is really whether, or a large part of it is whether Terry Dennison would stay as director of the chamber. She actually works for the town of Elizabethtown at this point in time. And we have been talking with the town of Elizabethtown and had discussions with them about utilizing her services. So I think there are some changes that are going to be coming about, and just can tell you that I don't know if you talked to Sean on it, but he's been actively involved with that. And when we know something on where it's heading, we'll certainly bring that to the board, and I'm sure Sean is glad to discuss that with you. On the absentee voting too, I would mention that the cost had gotten so high because of the other folks getting out of it at not this last meeting, but I think the meeting before from the town of Elizabethtown. They were the only one in the county that was participating in it, to my knowledge, and they made a motion to withdraw from that, so they do not have it lined up because the expense again was going to be in the multi-thousands of dollars, and they didn't think it would be a good expenditure for the town of Elizabethtown, so they got out of that. And just and if you need some more specifics on that, I'm glad to get it, but just let you know where
Yeah, I just want to be on the loop, but like I said, it hadn't been on the agenda. I don't really know word for word about it. Pretty much stay on it. You know, I just know when we did not have it that 1 year, we were kind of like, oh, we didn't realize how it affected us. And I just like to have a say, hey, man, we got more money in it. It might not have been a financial problem for the town of White Lake as well, because we are after the latest tax assessments I received. So I believe I can fund it.
All right. Well, and again, Sean's got some information on that if you want to discuss it with him. All right. Any other items? If not, we're at the open forum session. It's 3 minutes per citizen. Anyone who would like to address the board is welcome to come forward, identify yourself. You have 3 minutes to speak. If there's no one to be heard at the open forum, I'm sorry, come on up here.
Lake County and White Lake received that core money in January 30th. I would have noticed now. And there's a meeting coming up, and I asked Sean if there would be representation, and he wasn't sure, but I think it's Uplift that is offering training, brainstorming kind of things. So White Lake can spend their money to increase their the money is used to increase revenue for the area. So y'all may want to consider doing something separate from this. What core? It's outside.
Okay, yeah, I thought you said up there.
You mean something separate from?
Doing the work training.
You mean something separate from Bladen County?
White Lake got it, and Bladen County got it. They're not connected in any way.
Well, they're connected in the agreement we passed.
34 across the state. White Lake one, Bladen County's one. And I would like to encourage y'all to keep it White Lake, because we have so many outdoor opportunities that could bring revenue.
Many different local work groups as part of that core, right? You know,
it's ways to develop income through outside recreation.
And that's part of the reason we adopted what we did tonight on a joint effort with Bladen County.
That's what I'm suggesting, that you may want to keep it separate, because White Lake has a whole different set of avenues that you can develop hours separate from what's the thing. I guess that's already been pushed through.
Well, there are some separate things. There's some things that we have in common with it too. But,
I feel like our outdoor opportunities at the lake are much greater than, and we could probably benefit more financially if we just concentrated on ours. And not everybody's outdoors.
Yeah.
But that's nothing.
I don't know anything about that program, but that's kind of why I brought up the question with Withers and Ravenel, because it has in the past thing that we get overlooked because of the tax value situation, yeah, and the value of the property owners in the community. And so therefore, that was why I asked that question, because there's got to be some connection in filing for some of these grants, because we're getting overlooked, yeah, for that sole purpose.
Well, consider that Uplift is concentrating on rural, lower income areas.
And that's we're not considered lower income. That ties into exactly what I was saying. So Bladen County participates, if they help us with participation, I don't know the program, so I'm not speaking per se to that program.
They have
But-
things that
but
would
it-
help us.
But if we're not considered low income, a lot of times we miss those opportunities for grant dollars because as a town, we apply. Whereas if we applied in a partnership, we wouldn't get overlooked. And so Sean, that's one of the things that Sean and I did at those last meetings is try to go through and figure out what is the best way for us to try to get the most money for the town, whether it's participation or non-participation. And I don't know anything about that, what you're talking about, so I'm
I think-
not discrediting what you're saying, I'm just saying that both. Depending on what grant you're applying for, the participation might be the better way. If
Or
it's
if other
lower
bids
income.
are concentrating on rural areas. Period. It doesn't matter what your income is. They have lots to offer us, and I don't feel like this town White Lake is tapping into those resources. The workshops, Zoom meetings, 3 or 4 a month on different things that we could be benefiting from. One is festivals.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else? If not, we have a closed session and I would entertain a motion that we go into closed session. So the NCGS 143-318.11A5. Motion second. Any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye. All right, we are in closed session. saying aye. All opposed, like sign. There being no action to be taken at this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? It's unanimous.